Hello friends, and welcome to my channel. In my last two videos, I shared with you how I painted our old fireplace tiles, hearth, replaced the mesh screen curtains, and started rebuilding the fireplace surround. Today I'll continue to finish up building the fireplace mantle and the surround, then complete the decorative molding installation. For the inner line of these boxes in the middle of the pillars, I chose to use shoe molding and used my miter saw to cut the corners at a 45-degree angle. On top of the pillars, I used the shingle molding. All the trim I got from Home Depot. I'll put the links in the description box below. Please check it out if you're interested. For the mantelpiece, I initially wanted to get a better quality of pine board. However, all the stores and the lumber yards in our area didn't have pine boards in the sizes I needed, so I used the Douglas fir instead. Store-cut lengths are 8 feet and 16 feet, but you can also ask the clerk to help you cut it according to the size you need. It was very hard to find a piece of super straight lumber in the store. It took me a long time to pick this one. It looks better, but it's slightly warped on both ends. So I used the iron to steam both ends. Then put it between two boards and use the clamps to help it straighten out. Then put some heavy books on it for the night. When I started installing the top board the next day, I felt that 8 feet long was still too short. The top board needed to be longer than this. Otherwise, the mantle would not appear as imposing as I hoped for. I could have returned this one and bought a longer piece. However, I think it's better to keep it as it is and add a longer piece of board on top of it. That way I don't have to go through all the trouble of bringing this one back, and it will also make the mantle look more three-dimensional. Most importantly, I can also use screws to fix the bottom board to those studs underneath it, and give the top piece stronger support. I went to a local lumber yard and bought a piece of 2x10 Douglas fir, then had the staff help me rip it down to the actual width of 8.5 inches with their table saw. It's 1 inch wider than the board underneath. The length is 104 inches, 8 inches longer than the board below, which allows 4 inches of overhang on each side. Before installing the top board, I also put some heavy books on it for the night, to flatten it as much as possible. Next is to install the crown molding underneath the mantelpiece. In my previous videos, when installing the crown molding below the ceiling, I used to do it in a very simple way by using 1x3 and 1x4 boards and did the butt joints for the corners. But for this fireplace, I'm going to use an angled crown molding. I think it will provide a more classy and elegant look. I must be honest with you, as this is the first time for me to do this kind of carpentry woodworking. The process has been a challenge. The first crown molding board I chose was too wide. The 2x8 board above was too narrow and short to hold it in place. So after wasting my first crown molding piece, I went to the store and bought another piece in a much narrower width. Even it's much narrower, the 2x8 board was still a bit short for it. So I had to use some leftover scrap pieces to extend 2 inches on each end. The process was easy. I just used some wood glue to stick them onto the 2x8, then fastened them together with a nail gun. Don't worry about the gaps, as they'll be fixed later with the wood filler, and it will look like a single piece after painting. To install large angle crown molding, I think the hardest part is how to cut a perfect 45-degree corner, because you can't position the board straight on the fence to cut it, and you can't lay it flat on the table to cut it either. You have to let it stand with its angle and rest the top on the metal saw fence. Each piece must be cut at the exact same angle, otherwise the corners will not meet. My metal saw has very low fence. The top of the crown molding can't rest on it, so I'm going to install a piece of a 1x6-inch board on each side of the fence and secure them with the screws at the back. I always collect the leftover scraps after cuts and store them in a box in case something like this happens. I don't have to buy a new piece to finish the step. Now put the crown molding board on the saw table. Let the bottom sit with its angle, and put the top rest on the fence. Then use a Sharpie or pencil to draw a reference line on the fence. In this way, when cutting the next board, you can use this line as a guide to make sure all the pieces will be cut at the same angle. Then adjust the saw blade to a 45-degree angle. Hold the board firmly with the other hand while cutting. Make sure it's not going to shift. The cuts I made were not perfect, but all the imperfections can be fixed with the wood filler and the sandpaper later. Now it's time to fix all the gaps, nail holes, and the imperfections. After the wood filler was completely dry, I used the 220 grit sandpaper to sand everything smooth. Then I used the paintable caulk to fill the large gaps between the boards and the wall. Before painting, I applied a coat of primer that I already had on hand. It's the leftover from painting the hallway cabinet. I thought about the color of the fireplace surround for a long time. Eventually, I decided to go with the same paint that I used for entryway shiplap wall and the front door. It's the black paint from Sherwin-Williams. When painting on the wood, I always use a brush to paint the edges and the crevices first, then use a high-density foam roller to paint the flat areas. I did a total of 3 coats. Make sure the previous coat has dried completely before starting the next coat. I found this metal firewood holder in a thrift store. It was in a very good condition and I only paid $4 for it. I put these little foot stickers on each foot to protect the floor. You can buy these from the hardware store or Amazon. Every room needs to have a focal point. More often than not, the living room's focal point is where the fireplace is. If you want to add a custom touch to your home, the fireplace makeovers are definitely a good way to achieve that. That's all for today's video. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for your support, and I will see you all next time.